Hey, we're back at it again. All right, seeing the place to be. Ric Serritella here, broadcasting live from the laboratories of the Jersey Shore around the NFL draft universe right here at allaccessfootball.com. That's right. We are world famous because our viewership is in 75 different countries, and we appreciate everybody who's tuned in, locked in 75 days away to the 2026 NFL draft. We're counting it down. We're chopping you up. It's the All Access Football NFL Draft Watch Show. We're here live each and every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm flying solo today. My co-host, Russ Landy, is down this week, so you'll be getting my solo act for the next, hour of power or so. And I thought it would be a good time today, especially since the All-Star circuit has come to a conclusion. We still got the Senior Bowl stardust trickling in. We'll have some Senior Bowl spotlights out on the website next week. We've also recapped the East-West Shrine Bowl, the American Bowl, the Hula Bowl, the Dream Bowl, the College Gridiron Showcase. We were on location at the FCS Combine. When I tell you nobody, I mean nobody is bringing you boots on the ground analysis like the NFL Draft Bible. I truly mean it, folks. And that's why we are doing this thing here for our 24th NFL draft cycle. So if you are a member of the Draft Bible, the publication is in progress, right? So part of the subscription, you get the 2026 NFL Draft Bible. We'll have well over 500 in-depth scouting reports, background reports, insider intel from our training camp visits all the way through the regular season, the draft process, the all-star game circuit, the NFL combine, which is coming up on us very fast, the pro day circuit, everything you need to know if you want to be an expert come draft weekend. Now, I just got a notification. We're number 27 rising on the Substack platform. That's exciting, but we need the number one spot. We need your support. And oh, by the way, I do want to make this announcement that we will be streaming live all 3 days of the 2026 NFL Draft. That's right. We're bringing you pick-by-pick analysis, especially on day 3. You're going to want to tune in to our coverage if you want to hear about those players as they're being selected. And it's something to give you an alternative to the mainstream media coverage, right? Because they're going to bang you and bop you all day long with the first round picks. Even on day 2, day 3, they don't give you the insight and analysis that I think educated fans, that Draftnik fans really not only want, but they truly deserve. And that's going to be our goal of our NFL draft coverage. And always love having Douglas Dorner in the chat room. Thanks from the for the hat props from my fellow New Jerseyan. And we are here at the Jersey Shore, back from our All-Star game travels. And that's what we're going to do today. It's going to be a little bit of a freestyle. Don't call me Funkmaster Flex now, but we're going to go through the positions. I'm going to just kind of randomly pick out some players that caught my eyes along the scouting trails, some under the radar prospects that maybe the mainstream doesn't dive into as much. And that's what we've done here over the last 2 decades or so, is kind of made our backbone, bringing you the under the radar, small school prospects, names that you need to know. And that's our goal for today's episode. So buckle up, hunker down, take a sip of that morning brew or whatever you got floating around, and let's dive into it, shall we? I know it's cold. It's frigid out here at the Jersey Shore, so it's a little bit too cold for our scuba gear. But I do think they have the polar bear plunge coming up in just a couple of weeks. I won't be participating because I'll be out at the NFL Scouting Combine. And you're definitely going to want to keep it locked for our Combine confidential coverage. So with that being said, we'll dive right into the quarterbacks. And, just something to speak about with the players that we're highlighting, right? Because, you want to obviously hit home runs in the first round, but when you're constructing a team building philosophies, if you can hit on your mid to late round picks, if you can identify undrafted free agents that fit or that have traits, I think that's where great teams separate themselves from very good teams. And so these are players that are not going to go on round 1, probably not going to go on day 2, but they have certain it factors, skill sets, traits, or just maybe have been underlooked, at one time hyped. Maybe it's been an injury, but we're going to highlight some of these players. So the first guy we're going to talk about at the quarterback position, and not so much a sleeper, but I do want to talk about him just because when you get past the first round of quarterbacks, and I'm anticipating, even though Ty Simpson's a day 2 grade for me, I'm anticipating he gets pushed up the board into round 1, as well as Mendoza, probably the number 1 pick. But after that, teams are going to be trying to find the next Dak Prescott or the next Brock Purdy. And who might those guys be? Well, Garrett Nussmeier, to me, is a guy that really struggled due to re-aggravating the patellar tendon in August. And because of that, he was kind of favoring his arm, and Brian Kelly mismanaged Garrett Nussmeier for 2 straight seasons. And they overthrew him in training camp. He got a torso injury. He played hurt this season. Now, 2 years ago, he lit it up without a supporting cast. This year, he had a supporting cast and was mostly injured. And I think that when you take a look at the body of the work, the production, the ability to make all the throws, the son of an NFL coach, I do think that Garrett Nussmeier is that day 2 guy I would roll the dice on. But let's go a little bit further into day 3, because Joe Fagnano is a guy I've scouted in person probably over a dozen times, and I've come away impressed every single time I've seen him. And he's a little bit older. I believe he's 25 years old, 6th or 7th year senior. But when you just take a look at the poise, the pocket presence, the decision making, the accuracy, very few turnovers, doesn't make mistakes, has played in multiple schemes um, going back to his days at Maine before UConn. Very complex offense. So Joe Fagnano is a guy that has all the tools, and I'd be excited to draft him on day 3 and work with him, as would Monmouth signal caller Derek Robertson. And that's another guy that I've had a chance to scout in training camp the last couple of seasons. Obviously plays right up the road, so we've kept close tabs on him. He's come a long ways, and he needed about a year out of high school to really bulk up, get bigger, acclimate himself. But Robertson is so cerebral, so smart, can push the ball downfield, drop it in the bucket. And what stood out to me, down at the Hula Bowl is, the Grudens, Jay Gruden and John Gruden were the coaches there. They were installing very complex offenses, which is unusual for the All-Star game circuit, right? But this is the Gruden's first foray into the All-Star games, and they wanted to install a 300-page playbook and 5-sentence vocabulary plays. So I asked a lot of the quarterbacks there in attendance, like, "Hey, how'd you do with this play calling, this pro style of coaching?" And some of the players struggled with it. And Derek Robertson was like, "Man, this is easy, breezy, all good," and like was just, this is nothing. And you've had, other guys that really struggled with that. And so when you take a look at Robertson's transition, what he's done, and lining up under center and huddling up the offense and playing up tempo, like a lot of the things he does is going to translate very well. So I really like Derek Robertson. I've got a 7th round grade on him. I don't know if he gets drafted, but he is going to outperform a lot of his counterparts. One other quarterback that I'll talk about is Jacob Clark out of Missouri State. And, the American Bowl had some interesting signal callers. Ethan Kaliak Manis from Rutgers was there making the rounds, as was the Morehead State quarterback that we've got a lot of inquiries on, Jack Strand. And it was cool to see Strand and Missouri State, Jacob Clark, practice side by side each week, because they're kind of small school prospects, big body guys, and more of the pocket passing type. So to me, I came away with Jacob Clark being the more ready quarterback. Now, it's not to say that Jack Strand can't do it. He's very cerebral as well. I think he's an engineering or economics degree, and I think it could eventually click for Strand, and he's got a cannon of an arm. But in terms of just being more polished, Jacob Clark, and if you watch the end of the American Bowl, he came in on that last game-winning drive, zing, bang, boom, right down the field on the money. He orchestrated an incredible drive, and it took all game for us to see some offense in that event, but Jacob Clark delivered. And to me, I have Robertson at 11, Fignano at 6, and Jacob Clark at 15 right now. Joey Aguilar right ahead of Jacob Clark, but Aguilar, he's kind of in limbo now with this temporary restraining order in the transfer portal. We'll see what that outcome brings. Trinidad Chambliss was denied his waiver request, and he's going to be now moving to the state courts of Mississippi. But I have Trinidad Chambliss right behind Joe Fignano at number 7 on my big board. So just a quick look at some quarterbacks that are under the radar. All right, we'll move into running backs. And if you guys got questions or comments, man, we love getting interactive with it. I'd like to see some more commentary from you guys in the chat room. If you're here, like it, share it, subscribe it. We appreciate all the love and support. I'm getting my rocket fuel on here in this early morning, and it's late morning now, but we've been up quite a long time. So let's get into the running back, shall we? All right. Now, coming into the season, Jaden Ott out of Oklahoma was my number one guy. And what he did 2 years ago prior to his injury at Cal, I mean, there was reminiscence of Barry Sanders like spin moves and athleticism, incredible agility and cutback ability with this Jaden Ott. And then he transfers to Oklahoma, gets about 10 carries all season. I think he had 68 yards rushing. He comes out in the Senior Bowl and he runs like a man possessed. And we say, yo, there it is. It's still in there. He's still got lightning in a bottle. So it'll be interesting to see where Jaden Ott comes out on the evaluation side because he had literally no production this past year. And I liken it in terms of the situation. It's almost similar to Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, who I slapped a 3rd or 4th round grade on last year and didn't feel good about it because I felt like I was still too low on him, but I couldn't find anybody around the league that was actually high on Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. So we did wind up having him as a top 100 player. And sometimes you got to trust your gut and your instincts and what your eyes see. And I see Jaden Ott as a top 5 running back. So he's coming in right now at number 5 on my board behind Jeremiah Love, Katron Allen, Mike Washington, Jadarian Price. Nick Singleton had that injury at the Senior Bowl, so he might get dinged a little bit now. But Jaden Ott, I mean, I might be the highest draft analyst on this young man, and I believe in him. So that is going to be very interesting to see where he comes off the board. But if you watched Senior Bowl practice at all or the Senior Bowl game, man, it's hard to just dismiss this guy. And he ran for almost as many rushing yards in the Senior Bowl than he did all season at Oklahoma this past year, which is remarkable. So I'm a big fan. I'm bumping him back up my board, and I'm a Jaden Ott truther, I suppose. Now, the next player I want to talk about, to me, I think it might be the most fascinating prospect in this year's draft. And, I started getting notifications about this Virginia Union running back, the D2 Derrick Henry. And, you're always a little bit hesitant when players get labeled with Hall of Fame caliber players. But remember now, looking back, it was about 10 years ago. Derrick Henry, I believe, went in the 2nd round because I remember scouts were questioning whether he's too big to be a running back. He runs too upright to be a running back. And here we are 10 years later, and all he's done is carve out a path to the Hall of Fame. And I'll tell you what, man, seeing Curtis Allen run down there at the American Bowl, this guy actually lived up to the hype. 6 foot, 220 pounds, big bruising runner. He looks like a man amongst boys. He looks like more than 220, but I'll tell you, when you talk about just ability to break tackles, he's a man child. And I have Curtis Allen right now. Obviously things will probably change between now and draft weekend, but I have him as my number 10 running back out of Virginia Union. I'm that high on this kid, and I can't wait to see him deliver because I do think this is a starting running back. First player from Virginia Union to win the Harlan Hill. Thank you, Douglas Darner. So, man, if you haven't heard about Virginia Union running back Curtis Allen, go check him out. Unreal talent. Very, very excited for his future. Okay. All right. Again, this is a freestyle, so I'm just going to talk about players who caught my eye. Dean Connors out of Houston is a guy who doesn't get talked about, and he was at 2 games. I know he finished up at the Shrine Bowl. He was either I think he was at the Hula Bowl maybe. And what stood out to me about Connors is just his pass catching ability. And I know Doug, you also said Ott has a nice pass catching skill set, but Dean Connors is a pass catching weapon. And I really think that should be how he is utilized at the next level. And I think just based on his pass catching ability, Dean Connors has a chance to hear his name called late in the draft. Okay. So just a couple players there at running back that I'll highlight. I'm still a fan of Jamal Haynes. I know he came in at 5'6" and 7/8 inches, 186 pounds. Our guy Will Donahue actually had a good comparison for him. If you remember Dion Lewis coming out of Pittsburgh, very similar player when you talk about the size, the elusiveness, the shiftiness, hide behind that line of scrimmage, and then just boop, burst through the slightest daylight of crack of opening that Jamal Haynes out of Georgia Tech. So he's a guy, late round, undrafted free agent that I want to bring in on my program and try to build the running back depth. Okay. Now we're going to talk about wide receivers. All right. And I don't know how many positions we'll get through. We might have to make this a 2-parter, but before we get into the receivers, I had a chance to catch up with Xavier Thomas down at the East-West Shrine Bowl, and he was electrifying all week long. Here's a little interview with Xavier before we get into the wide receivers. All right, seeing the place to be, Ric Serritella on location in Frisco, Texas for the East-West Shrine Bowl. We got Xavier Thomas, offensive weapon, LSU, receiver, get the ball in his hands. He can run the ball. He can return the ball. Give the people at home a little self-scouting report.
I'm Xavier Thomas. Like you said, attend Louisiana State University from New Orleans, born and raised. Always was an LSU fan. I'm a guy that love the people, that want to see everybody around me win.
All right, well, talking about the people, LSU has built a huge pipeline from the NFL.
Yeah.
I heard you talking about carrying on the legacy, passing the torch. What's it mean to you to come from wide receiver university?
It mean a lot because, as we all know, that name holds a lot of weight. It's a lot of pressure that come behind that, but we built for it. But like being a part of WRU, it's just a blessing. Not everybody get the experience, so I'm just blessed and fortunate enough to be able to experience it.
Love it, love it. How's the draft training process going? Have you started working out at the facility, getting ready for the combine? How's that process training?
It's going great. I'm just taking things day by day, getting better at one thing each and every day, whether that's my start, whether that's my vertical, whether it's the L drill, whatever it is, just getting better.
All right, what's the biggest thing you want to show to the NFL scouts this week?
That I am who I say I am.
All right, now, I was doing some digging on you. Is it true you're related to Walter Payton?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little truth behind that.
Humble brag. Yeah. All right. Well, we got talent, we got bloodlines, we got performance.
Yeah.
Do we got a jersey number for the program this week?
0.
East or West?
East.
All right. Number 0 in the program for the East Squad, NFL Network, Thursday night. It's going down. Xavier Thomas,
yes, sir.
Ric Serritella. Keep it locked, everybody.
Appreciate y'all.
That was Davion Thomas down at the East-West Shrine Bowl, where we had some frigid weather down there in Texas. And Xavion lived up to the billing, man. Let me tell you. This young man was making plays left and right. You talk about yards after catch ability. He can take you downfield. He can take you underneath. He can take a screen pass and end around a bubble. And within the blink of an eye, it's a first down. He's moving the chains. And Xavion Thomas is, to me, somebody you want to bring in as your ideal slot playmaker type gadget, instant offense, maybe certain packages. He might only see 25 plays a game, but anytime this guy touches the ball, magic occurs. And I'm a really big fan of that Xavion Thomas out of LSU. All right, we'll talk about some wide receivers here now. We're going again under the radar prospects for this show. All right, and I gotta talk about Caden Weegan out of Iowa. Unguardable, won just about every single one-on-one rep, and he didn't just win the rep; he won it by a wide margin. I mean, he would turn one way, the other defender would go a different direction, and he would be wide open every single time. And I don't know what Iowa was doing because he barely touched the ball on offense, but golly, this is one of the most electrifying return men that we've seen in quite some time. And I'm trying to remember, the last dynamic kick returner or punt returner to come in the league and take it by storm. But I mean, this guy has breakaway ability, just incredible speed, acceleration, the vision, and the shiftiness. This guy is just a jitterbug. You can't stick him. And I'm a big fan of this Caden Weegan, and I would take him in the second round just based solely on his special teams value, even if he doesn't even line up for me at wide receiver. Just on his return ability alone, I have a second round grade on Caden Weegan, and he was arguably the best looking player down there at the East West Shrine Bowl. All right. One other guy. We're hopping and bopping now. We're going back to Mobile. Ted Hurst, another small school guy out of Georgia State. A lot of hype coming into the week about what he's done, back-to-back 1,000-yard receivers, seasons, plethora of touchdowns, red zone mismatch, 6'2" and 6'8" 195 pounds, just incredible length, vertical game, and more of a refined route runner than you might think coming from the small school ranks. So I think early day 3 probably is a good landing spot for a Ted Hurst. And, I actually have him right now slightly ahead of Jacoby Lane. And, I saw more from Hurst than I did from Lane down in Mobile. I mean, Lane was like you know, on the back of a milk carton. He couldn't be found. So to me, Ted Hurst was very, very impressive. Cyrus Allen, this guy probably made himself more money than anybody on the All-Star game trails. Like, he just lit it up. You could tell down at the American Bowl, he was just a cut above the rest in terms of the competition and attendance, just moving at a faster pace, right? And that's a great way to distinguish some of the top athletes in attendance at some of the lesser games like the American Bowl and Hula Bowl. You see Cyrus Allen, you see he's just moving at a different speed. You see he's just a notch above the rest of the athletes and players in attendance. And then you wonder, well, what's it look like at the Senior Bowl, or what's it look like at the Shrine Bowl? He got called up to one of those games. I think it was the senior. And again, couldn't be guarded. The release off the line of scrimmage, his ability to separate, I think he's going to test very, very well. And I think he had 14 touchdowns this past season. So nobody's surprised if you watch Cyrus Allen out of Cincinnati. This guy is legit. All right. And I have him right now at number 22 on my big board in the wide receiver rankings, but he could even be trajecting even higher. Okay. Now, Josh Cameron, I mentioned him on last week's show. 6 foot and 5/8 inches, 218 pounds. He just does a little bit of everything well. Good route runner, fearless over the middle, dependable hands, gets in and out of his breaks pretty smoothly. But where he has a little bit of a competitive edge is his blocking. He's one of the better blockers in this year's draft. And Josh Cameron's probably not going to test through the roof or, turn heads with his testing or measurements, but just a damn good football player. And he could be my wide receiver 3 any given Sunday, right? Josh Cameron is going to be an impact player, not a Pro Bowl, not an All Pro, but an impact player for sure. Um, Another guy who's very talented but has some off the field baggage is Eric McAllister out of TCU. And so he may become a value pick later on in the draft, depending on how teams view his off field discretions. But at 6'3", 205 pounds, can stretch the field. Another one of these vertical wideouts. McAllister is a guy to circle on day 3 that just is a risk reward proposition, right? He comes with some risk, but you may be rewarded with that if you have a stable locker room, if you have a veteran head coach, and you're not afraid to bring those kind of personalities inside the facility. Then Eric McAllister is a guy worth considering. Now, Reggie Virgil out of Texas Tech, 6'3.5", 190 pounds. All he does is get open, finds the soft spot in zone coverage. He can get physical too now. And Reggie Virgil, man, you know, I thought he might be a product of the system, but I was wrong. And I think it was the Senior Bowl again, where not only in the one-on-ones, but team scrimmages and in the game, Reggie Virgil showed up, right? And so I'm a big fan of his. Let's see who else we have. Donovan McCulley out of Michigan, 6'4", 2/8 inches, 215 pounds. Didn't know too much about him going into the American Bowl because, Michigan, they had the freshman quarterback. They ran the ball a lot, but McCulley's a guy who maximizes opportunities. I think he averaged almost 20 yards a catch, 34 catches, 700 yards, something like that. But very, very, very interesting prospect there. All right. Doug Dorner's in the chat room, so we got to give some shine to Cam Dorner there at North Texas. Just incredible production and somebody who's on the NFL radar there and somebody who's on our big board. And he's going to have a very, very strong chance to make a roster there. And we're excited for his future potentials, Doug. So love to hear any updates you have on him. And we're about halfway through the show. We just wrapped up wide receivers. Okay, making sure I'm not missing anybody. And I can, we could dig through the crates, man. We can dive deep, right? Ra Thomas out of Troy, former Georgia wide receiver, flashed some speed on the scouting trails as well. So we'll go into tight ends next. Okay, Ric Serritella here on the All Access Football NFL Draft Watch Show. If you made it this far, please like, share, subscribe. We're here each and every Saturday. I'm usually here with my co-host Russ Landy, who's on hiatus this week, so I'm flying solo for the hour of power. But just going through the positions, some of the under-the-radar prospects, some of the players who caught my eye at the various all-star games. And again, we were on location at all of them: Senior, Shrine, American, Hula, Dream, College Gridiron Showcase, FCS Showcase. Make sure you go and get all of our exclusive coverage over at allaccessfootball.com. If you're watching on the YouTube page, we've got all kinds of behind-the-scenes practice footage, interviews, content for days, playlists. All right, so you can dive into that. We also have team reports both on the website and on the YouTube channel. So we're getting you ready 75 days away to the 2026 NFL draft. If you're not locked in over at All Access Football, the NFL Draft Bible's coming out. Oh, my God, in about 2 months. It's making me nervous. Oh, my God. And we are just cranking away. So many in-depth scouting reports courtesy of our front office scouting department. They deserve a quick shout out. Again, Dom Ambrose, Lauren Davidoff, Will Donahue, Jarrett Regal, Ryan Paglia. All those guys are doing incredible work, and they'll all be out at the NFL Scouting Combine, where we have some incredible events. Of course, the Inside the League Scouting Seminar will be Wednesday night, February 25th, out in Indianapolis. And we do the NFL Draft Awards. Neil Stratton does the NFL Draft Awards. I'm just happy to be part of it. But we do the best GM, the best draft, the C.O. Bricado Award. We do the Eugene Parker Award. So many great, the Bart Awards. And we were on the scouting trails delivering the news to the various scouts about them winning. And it's just a cool thing where, the teams have really embraced it. They come out to the convention center, they accept their awards. Usually the best draft class, the entire front office has been coming and attending and accepting that award. So we'll be out there Wednesday night rolling deep with the Draft Bible Familia. We'll also be at the Sports Management Worldwide Football Career Conference, which is the largest football networking event of the year. It's one of my favorite times. 3 days of just networking and open bars and educational seminars. It's a fun mix. It's filled with executives and coaches and scouts and media and agents. So if you're looking to expand your network, I'm telling you, I make connections that last me a lifetime out in Indianapolis, and always tend to typically meet some very young, up and coming, aspiring scouts who have come through the Draft Bible doors and springboarded on to NFL and college football jobs. So always happy to be out there. And again, you can go to insidetheleague.com or smww.com for more information on those events. We look forward to seeing you out there. And if you're an NFL team, a CFL team, UFL team, college football program looking for a ready-made scout, these are all great evaluators ready for the next step of their football journeys. All right, let's dive into some tight ends, shall we? All right. Now, Justin Jolie out of North Carolina State, little undersized at 6'3", 250. And when I talk about undersized, we're talking about height and length. But he's a stocky, compact, bulky tight end. And he's got some quicks to him. And he's another guy that was hanging out with Jim Mora up at UConn. Somebody I had got a lot of eyes on early on in his career. And you could see the talent. It was there. Okay. And to me, Justin Jolie is your tight end 2, tight end 3. Traylon Burks kind of tight end, I guess. Let's see who else here. I can't say there's a lot of under the radar guys. Will Kaczmarek from Ohio State, if you're looking for a blocking tight end, did very well down at the Senior Bowl. He's not going to give you much from a pass catching perspective. But the other UConn tight end, Lewis Hansen, has an interesting backstory. He was actually recruited by Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, and 6'4", 241 pounds, also a stellar blocker. But this past year for the Huskies, he got incorporated more into the offense. And you saw some of that down at the Hula Bowl where he was catching passes. So Lewis Hansen out of UConn, probably an undrafted free agent, under the radar type you bring in and could possibly make your football team. One other interesting guy that was down at the College Gridiron Showcase is Jerand Bradley out of Kansas State. And at 6'5", 235 pounds, he's attempting to make the switch to tight end. And that's something he was working down at the College Gridiron Showcase out of Kansas State. At that size, I think it would make a lot of sense for him to make that move. And if he can, maybe become a blocker or capable, competent blocker, then Jerand Bradley, remember Tyrone Swoops, trying to make that transition to tight end. That's what you're looking at with Bradley, but he has a wide receiver background as opposed to being a rushing quarterback background. So I actually like his chances of making that transition. Now, that's a guy you got to be patient with, right? It might take a year or two to see that come to fruition. So, all right, we're moving and grooving along. We're going to get into some of the offensive line here. Before we do, I want to pop up this Brian Parker interview from the East-West Shrine Bowl. Parker played offensive tackle at Duke. He recognized his 32-inch arms were going to be a hindrance. And so the week of the East-West Shrine Bowl, his mission was to prove to scouts he could play center, something he did at high school. Here's the interview. Tell it back at it again on location from Frisco, Texas, with one of my favorite players here in attendance, Brian Parker, the Duke Blue Devil All-American. How we doing, Brian?
I'm doing great. It's been a fun week so far.
All right, yeah. Calm before the storm.
Yeah.
A lot of scout interviews on deck.
Yeah.
Looking forward to those one-on-one drills in the trenches.
Yeah.
What do you want to show NFL scouts out here this week?
My main goal this week is I'm coming to play center and show my versatility on the inside. So, I've got 2,500 plus snaps at tackle. So, I can play out there, and now I'm coming to show everybody I can play inside too.
Is that something that you've practiced? Did you get reps? Did you cross-train at all during your time?
Yeah, originally I was recruited to Duke to play center. That's why I played in high school. So I played a bunch of practice, and I feel very confident there. And then since I've been out in California training, that's what I've been working on.
All right. Are you also comfortable playing guard as well?
Yep, anything.
So all fives?
All five.
A lot of value there at the next level. Now, I heard your last interview saying you wanted to work on improving your run blocking coming into the season. Was that a goal of yours?
That was a goal of mine coming into this season, and I did a very good job with that. Last year, I think our yards per carry was one of the worst in the nation, and we left this season with a 1,000-yard rusher, freshman running back, and I think we averaged about 4.8 yards a carry. So that was a big improvement for us.
Yeah, you guys definitely had a great season, and you had a pretty good quarterback too.
Yep.
Darian Mensah, who's been in the news, but I'll ask you about the player because he's going to be probably up for evaluation come this time next year. What can you tell us about him?
Darian's a great guy. Unfortunate circumstance right now that he's going through, but no, great player, really down-to-earth guy, and somebody that you can really trust back there to get the play done, extend plays, make nothing into something.
How about a tough opponent throughout your career, whether it be in an individual or overall team, and how did you fare?
Tough opponents, I'll give two. My junior year, I'll go Ruben Bain Jr. Had a one-on-one with him most of the game, so that was fun. He's a really good player. A big heavyweight battle, and then this year another heavyweight battle I had was with T.J. Parker, good player out of Clemson, strong dude. So that was a fun game. Two fun games and good battles.
All right, where are you training for your combine pro?
Proactive out in Westlake Village, California.
Okay, who's your agent?
Ed Berry, CAA.
And what's your jersey number and team that you'll be representing for the Shrine Bowl?
Number 53 on the West team.
All right, so keep it locked. NFL Network, Thursday night. Last one for you. Tell the people at home why the NFL team should draft Brian Parker.
You're getting a smart guy, works real hard, he can play all five positions, and he's going to win.
All right, for Ric Serritella, Brian Parker here in Frisco, Texas. Keep it locked all week. It's allaccessfootball.com, and we appreciate the time, Brian.
Thank you.
All right, we're back at it again. That was Brian Parker out of Duke, who was so nice enough to lend us a few minutes down at the East-West Shrine Bowl, and somebody who I think is my number one rated center. I think he's an immediate plug-and-play starter center, and I like Brian Parker a lot. So, hey, welcome back to the All Access Football NFL Draft Watch Show. While we were away, Doug Durner with the under-the-radar tight end, Jeremiah Franklin out of Boston College. He did come on this past season, all ACC. I have him at 6'3" and 2/8 inches, 248 pounds. And, playing with Billy O'Brien up there in Boston College, he's going to be well coached and did have a career season. So there you go. Another under the radar tight end. We're going to talk offensive line now and get into the big uglies. We'll probably do offense this week and defense next week because there's just too many players to get to that I like. Most notably, Emil Wagner out of Notre Dame. Man, to me, him and Nolan Rucci both at the East-West Shrine Bowl were clearly the two best offensive tackle prospects that I saw. Maybe their grades changed after that week. Coming into that event, I think they were viewed as day 3 prospects. I could see them now getting pushed up the board into day 2 guys. So just some two notables there. Demetrius Crownover, Texas A&M. Some people think he's a guard at 6'6", 340 pounds. He's going to have inside-outside versatility. I think you start him at tackle. If you have to kick him inside to guard, you can do that. Micah Pettis, 6'6" and 7/8 inches, 351 pounds, looked every bit of the part at both the Hula Bowl and the Shrine Bowl. Very formidable. I don't think he's going to be a high caliber starter, but I think he is a average starter when you project him to the NFL. And if you can get that at day 3, ideally he's your backup, maybe fill in swing man, fill in spot starter at both left or right tackle. That's kind of what I see for Micah Pettis. Alan Heron, 6'5", 320 pounds, was down at the American Bowl, got called up to the Senior Bowl, took some reps at both tackle and guard. So again, inside, outside versatility, I think is going to bode itself well for his draft stock. Fayamo Fayali from Wake Forest, I would compare to the kid that the Giants drafted this past year out of Purdue. His name is slipping my mind, but he just comes with a nasty, mean streak in the trenches, and I like that from my big uglies. Faya Ali out of Wake Forest definitely caught my attention. Trevor Brock from Buffalo, College Gridiron Showcase, 6'5", 302 pounds. This is a very, very under the radar prospect, but man, he really showed out at the CGS, and he didn't get a call up to any of the other bigger games, which was a disappointment. But he is somebody who definitely made his mark at that event. As did Jandarius Morgan out of UAB. At the American Bowl, the coaches down there were just ranting and raving about Jandarius Morgan out of UAB. So just another name to get on your radar there. All right, we'll move over into some guards. Caden Barnett out of Wyoming, man. Wow, didn't know too much about him. I think he was down at the East-West Shrine Bowl, I want to say. And again, just one of these guys who it just stands out. Like he's just more polished, more fundamentally sound. His anticipatory level, like he's in the spot before the defender every single time. And I've got him right now, number 3 on my personal rankings, but I think he's somebody who may be viewed as more of a mid to late round kind of projection. As is Micah Morris, who got an East-West Shrine Bowl invite. But golly, out of Georgia, 6'4", 330 pounds. I think he's a plug-and-play starting guard. I don't know why there's not more love for a Micah Morris out there in the scouting community. But, man, if you go pop on the game film, he rarely loses, okay? Thomas Remack from Virginia Tech is another guy who caught my attention down at the Hula Bowl, I want to say. Somebody who plays all 5 offensive line positions, started at tackle for Virginia Tech, may eventually transition inside, but again, just a high floor player if you like those kind of players. All right. We'll finish up with the centers. Okay. I mentioned Brian Parker. You're going to have a strong center class here, a lot of starters. Connor Lew out of Auburn, Jake Slaughter out of Florida, Logan Jones out of Iowa, Sam Hecht from Kansas State, okay? He may go day 3, but this is a starting center all day long in the National Football League. And centers get devalued. Typically 6 to 8 of them get drafted every year, but you got about 4 or 5 that even 6 or 7, like Parker Brailsford from Alabama, Pat Coogan from Indiana, Jaeger Burton from Kentucky. This is a loaded center class. And then if you want to factor in guys like Delby Lemieux from Dartmouth, another one of these tackles who kicked over to center at the Senior Bowl and did very well for himself. This is a crowded center group. And Lemieux might be a guy, an Ivy League guy, smart enough to make this transition. 6'3" and 2/8 inches, 285. So he probably needs a year in the NFL strength and conditioning program, bulk him up a little bit, maybe a 1 or 2 year project. So what's your flavor of the week? James Brockermeyer out of Miami, another very polished center, Doesn't have the prototypical size measurements at 6'2" and 6'8", 295 pounds. But man, very, very good player who compensates with instincts, experience, NFL type of bloodlines that James Brockemeyer. Okay, so loaded center class. I can't remember centers and linebackers being this loaded as much as this year's draft class. And we're about 45 minutes into the show, so we'll save the defensive under the radar prospects for next week. I wasn't sure how long today's show was going to last since I was down my co-host Russ Landy, who usually joins me each and every Saturday here. But we're going to take one more quick commercial break and come back and put a ribbon on the show. When I was down at the Hula Bowl or the American Bowl, I caught up with Emory Hunt, asked him for some of his impressions for under the radar players, and here's what he had to say. All right, seeing the place to be, back at it again on location for the 80th Hula Bowl, and we've got the czar of the playbook, Emory Hunt, CBS Sports. You will find a lot of wannabe draftniks on Twitter and TV, but you won't find them here at the Hula Bowl. We're here on location, day 2 of practice, Emory. Just want to gauge your temperature and get your feel for some of the defensive guys catching your eye out here at the Hula Bowl.
Well, I'm going to start up front where football really starts and begins and ends. Tommy Dunn of Kansas did a really good job in one-on-ones today. I thought he was outstanding using his hands, was constantly whipping his guy one-on-one, getting back into the backfield. In the secondary, Fred Davis out of Northwestern, I thought had a really good day attacking the ball in 7-on-7, one-on-ones, and showing that athleticism that you like to see. And one more, just before I forget, he played at Arizona State. Jordan Crook was the linebacker, built more like a safety, probably one of those hybrid crossover guys. Really stood out today for me.
Yeah, definitely a lot of good role players, guys that have versatility. We talked about Desmond Reed and what he can bring to the table as a runner, return man, receiver, pass catcher. So we got names for days. We're going to keep them rolling over at allaccessfootball.com. We got more videos, more interviews, and make sure you catch Emory over at CBS. You got playoff coverage, you got draft coverage. What's cooking on the headquarters, man?
Playoff coverage, draft coverage. What else we got? That's about it, man. It's going to lock us in.
Great time of the year.
Exactly, right? All the way through April,
We're on location across the nation. January is the best month of the year for us draft evaluators. So keep it locked, everybody. Appreciate the love and support for Emory Hunt, Ric Serritella. Love you very much. All right, my guy, Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook, football game plan. CBS Sports always gracious enough to lend us his time out on the All-Star Trail. So, hey, almost an hour of power here. We're winding down. I'm just going to tell you about some of the latest happenings that are occurring in case you're just tuning into the show. I announced it at the top of the show. We will be live all 3 days for the 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh. We'll be live streaming all 3 days, okay? So if you're looking for an alternative to your mainstream media coverage, allaccessfootball.com is your home, whether that's at the website, the YouTube channel, Twitter, X. We also streaming, I think, on Facebook if you're out there on the Facebook universe. But hey, lend us a share, a like, a subscribe. We appreciate the love and support. Tell a friend that it's them again. And the 2026 NFL Draft Bible will be coming out in April. We are well underway with the assembly line process, compiling all the reports from the front office scouting department of the NFL Draft Bible. It's our 24th year of providing independent analysis to you, the people. And we appreciate the love and support. So always love getting interactive. Shout out to Douglas Dorner in the chat room. Chat room was a little bit quiet today. Hopefully we can round up some more hooligans for next week. But this is the hangout for draftniks only. So if you like draft coverage, if you like alternative draft coverage, we do talk about the top rated guys, and we'll be doing some positional previews as we count you down. But again, I thought it was a great opportunity to highlight some of the under the radar prospects, some of the small school players, some of the names you need to know. And again, when it comes to team building, being able to hit on second and third day draft picks, identifying undrafted free agent talent, this is what separates great franchises from good franchises. And so we appreciate you tuning in. We'll be out at the Combine in, 2.5 weeks. Keep it locked for our Combine confidential coverage. We'll also be out at the Inside the League Combine Seminar for all the NFL Draft Awards. So if you plan to be in town, please hit us up. Let us know. Also, the Sports Management Worldwide Football Career Conference, February 26th through the 28th. Inside the League is February 25th. But we'll be doing the Punch Bowl Social, happy hour, open bar, networking. We'll have the educational speaking seminars. I'm actually going to be one of the guest MCs, and we'll have good friends like Brian Baldinger speaking. I'm sure Dane Vandernat will be in attendance. We've had Mark Dominic, Adam Schefter's been speaking for like the last 14 years there. A lot of great guests that come through there each and every year. So if you plan on being out in Indianapolis, check us out, hit us up, subscribe to allaccessfootball.com. Oh, by the way, we have a Super Bowl sale. I forgot to mention 40% off right now. If you subscribe to the website, it's automatically discounted. We're doing it for the Super Bowl weekend. So if you're watching it live today or you're watching the replay tomorrow on Sunday, you still have time to act on that discount. 40% off includes the 2026 NFL Draft Bible and access to all of our insider content, which will get you caught up on our exclusive coverage. I mean, we've got probably half a dozen reports for all of the All-Star games, whether it's the Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, American Hula, Dream, College Gridiron Showcase, FCS Showcase. We hit them all. And I think we're the only media outlet to do that. So when we tell you that we've been bringing you the names you need to know first since 2002, I mean it. That's what we do here at allaccessfootball.com. So shout out to those of you who subscribe to the Inside the League Friday Wrap. That's a free newsletter that comes out every Friday. It's a specialized focus on the agent and scouting community, but I do a weekly column there. And yesterday's newsletter, I highlighted some of the latest developments in the scouting and agent community. I do that each and every Friday, part of the Inside the League newsletter wrap. Also, we recorded the Scouts Honor podcast this week, which we posted on the website on Friday. And again, another deep dive into the draft pool with my good friend Dave Del Cole. Scout Honors podcast is in memory of Dave T. Thomas, longtime draftnik who paved the way for individuals like myself. So always happy to jump on with Dave for that. And then again, every Tuesday, I'm on the Sports Rage podcast, Sirius XM, with my good friend Gabriel Morency, who's out at the Super Bowl right now as we speak. In fact, he was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, making his annual appearance out there for the Super Bowl in San Francisco. I don't know if Gabe's going to make it home. He's having too much of a good time, but every Tuesday we record the Sports Rage. I've been doing it for about the last 5 years or so. We talk everything pigskin. And that's why I love going on the show, because Gabe's based in Vancouver. So we get in some CFL talk. We'll talk UFL. That kicks off in a couple weeks. And always appreciate the show each and every Tuesday. So keep it locked. We've got a lot of shows coming. Of course, Brian Baldinger also jumps on our draft coverage once the Super Bowl winds down. So the next 2 months, counting you down to destination Pittsburgh, is going to be a ton of fun. And I can't get enough of it. And I never get sick of it. And this is my least favorite time of the show, when I have to say goodbye to you all, because I love talking football with you guys. I love talking draft prospects. And I love delivering on the names that you need to know when it comes to the 2026 NFL draft. So we'll come back. We'll do it again next week. We'll talk some defensive under the radar prospects, and then maybe we'll start our positional previews as we count you down. 75 days away. So make sure you go to allaccessfootball.com, take advantage of that 40% discount. And we appreciate all the love and support. Over 50,000 subscribers from 75 countries around the universe. I was broadcasting live from the confines of the Jersey Shore in the laboratory here. And we'll be back at it again next week, everybody. Thanks for watching.